Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Side Podcast. Today we're going to talk about hearing the voice of your guardian angel, or the voice of the Divine Spirit for guidance in your life. This is a question that a lot of people ask, or something you hear a lot of people say. They'll say, I believe in God, I'm spiritual, I'm religious, I pray, but I never hear any direction in my life. I hear all these people saying, I feel God spoke to me, or I heard a voice somewhere in my subconscious mind or in my head telling me what I needed to do in that circumstance, but I never get that. Do you have that problem? Well, hopefully in this podcast, we're going to fine-tune your divine receptors and help you hear the voice of your guardian angel, the divine spirit, so you can receive more guidance in your life. But first of all, let's take a look at what divine guidance is or usually is. There is a variety of ways that divine guidance or divine intervention can come into our lives. Usually it's through that still small voice inside. And sometimes that still small voice can be like a sentence that's just downloaded into your head, like, don't go left, go right. Sometimes and most times I would say, it comes as a strong urge, that sensing, that intuitive knowing that comes out of just nowhere. Let's say you're going to apply for a new job. You submit your resume, you go to the interview, you get hired, it goes great. But then as you're walking out of that great interview that you just aced and you just got hired, you get that feeling, don't take this job. This is a mistake. Hold on to the job you have. You just have that knowing that something isn't right. There's something you're not glimpsing behind the curtain that's important. So that's a really important way that divine guidance comes to us. In fact, these are two of the most usual ways that we receive guidance from our angels or from God. Again, that's usually sometimes a sentence that will just say, hey, go right, not left. And it sounds like you thinking it, but it's a sentence or a phrase that just pops into your head, almost like someone made it appear there. And then, again, there's that feeling. That feeling could be foreboding, don't take this job. Or the feeling that you need to take this job. Don't give your new job 2 weeks notice. Quit now and go to work for this company immediately. And you just know there's something right about that feeling that you're getting. Again, it's not something that you make happen, that you force to happen. It just happens organically out of the blue. Divine guidance is not, although not impossible, like you hear a lot of the old TV preachers always say that, God spoke to them. And they make it sound like this audible voice that was right over their shoulder saying, hey, pal, here's what you need to do. And some people, they'll swear they hear the voice of God, a disembodied voice speaking to them out of the ether. This is usually a lesser way that divine guidance comes, although it can happen. There can be the voice that just comes out of nowhere. There can be the visions, whether it's a scene that plays through almost like a daydream before your eyes. And again, it's very spontaneous. It's not something you make happen. You're seeking guidance, you're wondering about a situation, and suddenly you just see this little scene, like a mini movie playing out in your mind. And you just have a feeling again like, oh yeah, I never really thought of that, or wow, that meant something to me. That really touched a nerve. So it can come in those vision kind of daydream states that just come out of nowhere. There can be things that the experience that many call open visions. And this is just reality falls away. And man, there's the light, there's God, there's an angel. You're like almost in another realm, being given this very specific instructions about something that's going on in your life. And again, these are the very rare ones. People who go around saying that they receive these audible voices or, grandiose visions all the time. I tend to question and say, I'm not so sure I believe those people. Although, and from personal experience, I can say that sometimes you can have those visions, very open visions, and experiences like that will last. They'll come out of nowhere. They'll last for a certain period of time. And when that time is over with, that you no longer need that in your life, it seems to just go away and life returns to normal. Another way that we receive divine inspiration or guidance in our lives can be through our dreams. Dreams are very important. Sometimes you hear people say that they're struggling with something, they're praying about something, they're asking God for help about something, and they'll go to bed at night and they'll have this dream that whether it's an angel or whether it's a religious figure like Christ or Buddha, or even a deceased relative like their mother, their father, their grandmother, will just appear to them in a dream and speak very specifically about this thing that the person is seeking guidance about. And they awake from that dream with just a feeling that, man, that seemed too real. It was too on the money. There was something about that dream that it didn't feel like a normal dream. So we can certainly receive inspiration and divine guidance through our dreams at night. And then there is probably the lesser way that people can receive divine guidance is the full-on visitation. You're praying, you're struggling with something, you're seeking guidance. And one day out of the blue, bam, there it is right in the middle of your living room, a spiritual visitation, again, whether it be an angel, a deceased relative, a religious figure, a saint, and there they are. And they just pretty much hand you the information, here's, what you need to do. Again, these things can happen. It's pretty miraculous, but again, it's not the norm. So people who, I remember when I was watching, again, the televangelists, there were particularly this one guy. He claimed just about every other night, every other day, he was caught up out of his body into the clouds and sat having these long, elaborate conversations with Jesus, who gave him all this hidden information about the Bible and prayer and faith, and then would send him back down into his body. And the way this particular individual talked, he made it sound like, he had numerous books out as well that was like, I guess Jesus appeared to him or caught him up in the spirit every other day, but that kind of thing. Again, it's a lot of bunk. Generally, these things can happen. They are more rare, or they might happen again, like the other aspects of receiving divine guidance through, the very open visions, that those things can come for a time. The visitations will happen for a time when they serve their purpose, they fade out. It's over with. It's not something that happens every day or happens every day of your life. And again, I question the people that come and say, "Oh, well, I sit down and my angels or God or my spirit guides, they just manifest themselves. They appear in the room to me daily and give me this great wisdom." I question that, and I think with good reason. People can certainly get very bizarre when it comes to religion and spirituality, and there's no shortage of kind of fanatical, crazy beliefs and behavior out there. I mean, right now, even as we speak, and I tell this story as an example, there's two individuals who are making videos on YouTube, and it's incredible to me because they're very violent in their speaking. They threaten other, not me, but I know of other YouTube channels that are Christian oriented. And these two individuals attack them and threaten them. They're going to break their bones and stomp their head in. It gets very violent. And these two individuals that do all this threatening swear. If you know anything about the Bible, in the book of Revelation, it says in the end of days, the two witnesses will come to the earth. They will be able to stop it from raining, all these miraculous things that they'll be able to do. And then the leaders of the world kill them at a certain time, and then they're raised up into heaven. Well, if you don't know anything about it, just Google the two witnesses of Revelation. It'll bring you everything you need to know. But these two guys claim that they're the two witnesses, and it's it's eerie. I'm a pretty spiritual person. I believe in the miraculous. I believe God is capable of anything at any time. But when we start getting into this kind of instability, we'll call it, very questionable. So anyone who comes along telling you that they have all these visions and, visitations or even dreams all the time, it's like a daily occurrence. I would question that, and don't be one of these people who seek your divine guidance through these kind of people. I do spiritual readings for a living, as many of you know who have listened to the podcast. And in that realm of doing readings and spiritual counseling, there's a myriad of people that claim, they're clairvoyant. Everybody's clairvoyant. They're all receiving this incredible information through the angels or their spirit guides. They all claim to see, that they'll read for you over the phone. "Oh, I see your mother standing right now behind you over your right shoulder. She's there with the angels and she's telling you," I just say with that kind of thing, be very cautious, and I put this out as kind of the things to be careful of when it comes to receiving divine guidance, because there's no shortage of people out there who will swear they can get that guidance for you. So it's not always the best thing to do to go seeking after people to give us that guidance. Not that there aren't some very good and honest people out there who pick up on things and they try to help to the best of their ability, and some of them are very good. But there's also, again, no lack of charlatans and questionably mentally stable individuals who, will give you information that may not be helpful. It may actually hurt you or cause you to make a decision that is not beneficial for your life. But now, what are some of the ways in which we can get divine wisdom for ourselves? There are ways that we can kind of jog our spiritual perception, as we said, tweak our spiritual receivers and get that guidance more clearly in our own lives. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment, right after these messages from our sponsor, which is me, promoting our sponsor. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the podcast. Let's now talk about ways in which you can fine-tune your spiritual receivers and hear more clearly for yourself divine guidance. Now, there's a number of ways that this can be done. And for those of you who are not so hip on meditation or things of that nature, you can't focus, you just can't get in that mode. Here's a real simple way. Well, actually, a couple of very simple ways that you can start to open up, your mind, your soul, your reception to hearing the higher voices of the spiritual realm. One is, there is a number of angel card decks on the market. And they're not all, for fortune telling or anything like that. You could just put in angel oracle decks, angel meditation cards. There's a little deck that I have. It's angel meditation cards. It's a little blue box, and it just has a little phrase on each one that you can think about. So you can get something like this. Another one is a little deck. It's called Angels of Light by Diana Cooper. And this is also a very good one. But you can look around at angel oracle decks or angel meditation cards and find one that you're drawn to. And a great way to do this is just go in thought, in prayer, with your eyes open, and just say, "Hey God," or "Hey guardian angel, I'm really struggling with this situation, whatever it might be. And I was just wondering if you could give me some guidance through this simple medium, something that I can go on to receive guidance, because I really do need some help with this." And then just give thanks. I thank you for any information that you bring to me, dear angels or God. Shuffle your deck, pick a card. When it feels right, pick that one that feels just right. Turn it over, read it, look at it. Sometimes these cards, I'm not a big fan of Doreen Virtue, but there's a deck she has, Healing with the Angels Oracle cards. And this is one that I think is great because it only has actually one word on each card, like faith or spiritual guidance or strength, and it has some artwork with the angels. So if you prefer to have something with just one word, this is a great deck to have. But whatever deck you choose, pick one card. Just look at it for a moment. Read if it's something like the angel meditation cards, read what it says. Read the little caption on it. If it's something that has just one word, look at the word, look at the artwork. What comes to you when you look at it? Maybe you're having difficulty at work and you choose something that is just simply about faith. Just let your mind relax. Don't force it. Look at the word, look at the artwork, think about your situation, just kind of open your mind and your heart to God. And a way that I used to do this is actually just kind of look upward, toward God, toward the angelic realm, and just imagine a door in my mind or my heart opening up. My way of saying, hey, I'm open. I'm open to receiving any information you have for me. And you might be surprised what little things will come to you at that moment. You just might get that feeling, that we talked about earlier, that intuitive feeling that comes out of nowhere that just says, you know what? Yeah, I drew the card of faith and that's what I need to do. I just need to relax and have faith that God is going to work all this out. God's got my back. No matter what happens, I feel like everything's going to be all right. Even if I lose my job, I'll get another one. Then if it's something like that where you may lose your job, it may come to you that, you know what, I just need to have faith, even if that happens, even if I lose my job. Maybe that just means there's something better out there for me. This isn't where I belong anymore. So little things like that will come to you that are just so amazing and comforting. And it's a really great way to, as they say, grease the wheels, to get our spiritual receptors more in line with hearing the voice of the divine. And now another great way to do this, which is the same principle with your eyes wide open, you're not engaging in any meditative practices if this is something that's hard for you, is to read a verse from the Bible or whatever other holy book that might be important to you. You might go on the computer and just Google something like, Bible verses for easing the mind of worry, Bible verses for divine protection, Bible verses for healing, whatever it is, or verses from the Quran for divine guidance or healing or help. Or, maybe you're a Buddhist, words of Buddha about not worrying or being detached from stressful situations. And then when you find, you'll get a list, of all these scriptures or sayings from a favorite religious figure or saint, and you could choose one that works for you and just kind of meditate on it. Again, with your eyes open, read it, think about it, open the little door in your mind and in your heart, and just let any information come. This is a way that I started out kind of, and it's not something that anyone told me to do. I just started doing it all on my own years ago. And, my receptors are certainly much more fine-tuned, but it's still a method that I use because things come to me that are so clear, so pertinent. And don't worry if at first when you use this technique that, nothing much comes, keep at it. And do things that make this feel sacred and holy and special to you. If you want to light a candle, or if you have a figurine of, Jesus or Buddha or an angel, a certain spiritual or religious figurine that's important to you, maybe set that out, on a little table in front of you and light a tea light candle. Have the lights in the room dim. Maybe you want to hear some classical music or Gregorian chant or some other kind of spiritual music just playing lowly in the background. Set a mood, create a sacred space, where you're making yourself more receptive to hearing. You're kind of taking the events of the day, of the world, and just setting that all aside, and you're entering this very beautiful, this very peaceful, this very sacred little space that you're creating just for you and God, just for you and your guardian angels. And that can be extremely conducive to getting those little nuggets of wisdom that come to us very quickly. And again, don't be afraid, or discouraged if you don't hear right away. Just keep at it. Make it like a ritual. Just go and don't make it something that you're forcing. Like you're going to the gym. Well, I'm not hearing anything, but I got to go and light that candle and, enter that little sacred space. No, it's not like that. Any way you slice it, you're making this time just for you and the divine, or you and your spiritual guides, you and your guardian angels. It's communing with them. It's listening. It's enjoying their presence and their company and being grateful for that presence. I can't stress that enough. This is not something you're trying to make happen, or you're doing it because you're just trying to push, psychologically or mentally or spiritually, to hear what you need to hear. No, relax. Enjoy this experience. Make it something that's enjoyable and important to you. Even if you're just sitting in that space, feeling calm for a few moments. And now, if you're someone who enjoys meditation and you like getting into those deeper states of consciousness, you can use these two methods in conjunction with meditation. And that is, pick your little card, find your verse of scripture or your quote from your favorite, spiritual leader, ponder on it for a few moments, and then just go into meditation. And then while you're in meditation, you think about it. Just open your mind, think about it. What I like to do if I use the cards, whether it's a card with just one word on it, or whether it has a sentence or two about faith or patience, I'll go into meditation and I'll just use that as kind of a mantra in my meditation. I'll just take a deep breath. As I exhale, I'll just say, mentally to myself, faith. And again, I'll just open those little doors in the mind and the heart to God, and I'll see what comes back to me. If my thoughts start to wander in meditation, that's my mantra to bring me back. Deep breath in, exhale, faith. Bring my attention right back to that word that I'm thinking about, whatever it is. And I always look at this as being, as they say, it says in the book of Proverbs, if you cast your bread upon the waters, after many days it will return to you. And I've always found that using that in meditation, just that word, that mantra, whether it's based on a card or an angel card or a scripture that I condense into one word, it's amazing after a while that you put that word out there and then just what comes back, thoughts, inspirations, those little sentences, maybe little daydreams will kind of play out. And those are the kind of things that you don't want to take your attention away from. If you find anything coming to you while you're in meditation using this technique, if it's phrases, words, pictures, if it's pertinent to your situation, those are the things you want to allow. Those are the things you want to go with. You don't want to inhale, say your mantra word and go away from that. You want to stay with it. So again, these are two very powerful ways that you can use to receive divine guidance in your life. And you can do this again in a fully awake state of mind with your eyes open. If you're someone who isn't very good at meditation, or you can do it in meditation, in conjunction with meditation. It works really well both ways. And I'll tell you something else that I do. Because I like to meditate, but sometimes once in a while I'll hit that mode where it's just more difficult, whether I'm distracted or there's a lot going on. I just can't get as deep. So I'll use the open eye method. And one of the things I'll do is I'll get some prayer beads or just anything with beads on it, whether it's a rosary, Buddhist prayer beads, Muslim, Islamic prayer beads, and I have them all. I have small ones, I have larger ones, and I'll do that with my eyes open. If I choose to pick a card, or if I read a scripture or something and I condense it down to one word, with my eyes wide open, I'll just go down the beads and say that word, faith or patience, and I'll just sit and see what comes back to me. If my mind starts to wander, I go to the next bead, I'll say it again. So it becomes kind of like a little mantra, keeping your mind focused, but also not clamoring after thoughts and, feeling desperate to receive something from God or your guardian angels. So these are two really wonderful ways, and you can use the prayer beads in meditation as well. If you go into deeper levels, I use it with both eyes open and eyes closed. But these are two really practical, easy ways that I found. When I started, I was not a person that could meditate an iota. It definitely took some practice. And these are things that I did. These are things that I recommended to other people. And the results are just really wonderful. And it does create a little sacred space within and without that it just makes you feel good. And when you're feeling relaxed, you're feeling good, you're feeling comfortable, you're just enjoying your time, in the divine presence or the presence of your angels. That's when those things can really come to you a lot easier, because you're not holding so tightly like you have to make it happen. Oh God, where is it? Am I going to get anything? Make this enjoyable. Make this a sacred practice for you. So I hope you've all gotten something out of this today. I really appreciate you listening. And hey, drop me a line down below. I'll have my email in the podcast description. And let me know how these techniques work for you. I always enjoy hearing from everyone out there and getting feedback for the things that I share on the podcast. So, happy meditating with eyes open or closed. This is Paul James Caden. Again, I thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast. And before I go, I just want to say, and this is a great place in a podcast about divine guidance, I'm going to start every Friday. I'm going to call it Fright Fest Friday, where I'm going to share a true ghost story on the podcast. So the APB is out there. If you have a ghost story you want to tell, if you want to come on the podcast, if you want to remain anonymous and just let me tell your story, email me. I think that would be real fun, just to have a spooky Friday ghost story that someone had experienced in their lives. So I will see you all in the first Fright Fest Friday coming up. Email me with any stories, questions, or comments. I bid you all love and peace, and I'll see you in the next podcast.